Right. Shalom, good afternoon from Jerusalem, Israel. This is Mr. Lowell Joseph Gallen, founder of the Root and Branch Association Limited, established in the United States of God of Israel, bless America, New York State, 1981, and now celebrating our 42nd year. Today is Wednesday, June 21st, 2023 in the Gregorian calendar, and it is the second day of the fourth Israelite Hebrew month of Tammuz 5783 in the Hebrew Israelite calendar. Welcome to episode 15 of our monthly seminar entitled Ancient Roots Mothering, Roots, Nettles and Sage, co-chaired by Mrs. J. Rivkah Asoulin of the Lower Galilee in Israel, Mrs. Chava Dagan of the Northern Negev in Israel, and Mrs. Gilla Weiss of Florida in the United States of God of Israel, bless America, who is, it's always good to have happy news, on assignment helping someone give birth to a baby. And that's very welcome news these days, especially when so many people don't want other people to have babies or doing their best to murder them before or even after their birth. Who could imagine we would live in such times? All right. Well, welcome. I already said that. Welcome to our seminar. And before we welcome our regular guest, Cynthia from Oklahoma City in Oklahoma, in the United States of God of Israel, bless America. And before I begin, please support our work. Please support the work of Rivkah and Chava and Gilla. Their websites will be given below. There are so many ways you can do that. You can subscribe to their newsletters. You can buy products and services. It'll all be there. And please support yours truly's work to build our Hebrew Bible-based Fifth Israelite Monarchy Broadcasting Network from Jerusalem, Israel, to honor the God, land, Torah, and people of Israel and all humanity. Regarding the Fifth Israelite Monarchy, please see the biblical book of Daniel, chapter 2, verse 44. Oh, yes. And please wish that me well that between now and next month, I will have repaired my glasses. I would like to say it was my granddaughter's fault that they broke, but it's probably a combination of them and me all together. And hopefully I'll have them fixed by then. All right. Now, without further ado, let me hand over the mic to Chava and Rivkah. Ladies, it's all.
Thank you so much, Lol Aryeh. So first we give a big shout out to Gilla because we always feel weird doing this show without Gilla. It's like 1/3 of us is missing because 1/3 of us is missing. Gilla is doing incredible work, and being on call to assist women in giving birth is such holy work. And we're so proud of you, Gilla, and we miss you. And we're so excited to do the next show together with you, B'ezrat Hashem. So today, we want to talk about the kind of paradigm difference between herbal medicine, pharma medicine, and some other types of medicine. It can be very difficult to conceptualize of what we're talking about, even to kind of get on the bandwagon or understand some of the basics when there's such a dichotomy between the paradigms of thought behind healing in each different modality. So Chava and Gilla and I were interviewed a while ago, and probably about a year ago or something at this point, I don't know, a long time ago. We were in an interview and somebody got on and this person was very, very excited because he had a question about herbal medicine. And so he told us that he had found this old recipe for something that could deal with coronaviruses or upper respiratory or something. And he read the recipe to us, and we're just listening and nodding our heads like, oh, that's so interesting. And he said, okay, so I want to check with you, are these the correct herbs and are the amounts correct? Or do you really need this amount of ounces of herbs to this amount of water and this amount of whatever? And we were just, you know us, we aren't speechless very often. We usually have something to say. But we sat there completely silent. We did not know how to answer this question. And he was prodding us and he was starting to get agitated. And the host of the show was starting to get agitated. Everyone was starting to get agitated with us. And so I tried to take a deep breath and say, well, I kind of think that this is the wrong question. This question is not, we have a note in our chat, be careful. That's what Gilla said. Yeah, so it was be careful, right? Because, and I said, okay, I think this is maybe the wrong question. Because what this person was asking was, will this group of herbs, will this herbal recipe cure coronaviruses or upper respiratory, whatever it was, and are these amounts correct? So I was trying to explain, he's saying, well, how much, what is the amount I need? And I'm saying, well, it depends on the size of your pot or your jar. And he doesn't understand, we're just not speaking the same language. But the problem with herbal medicine is that if you have a recipe for it, there's a lot of factors at play. One is, how many people are you treating at any given time? What is the preparation that you're using? If you're making a tincture or some type of elixir or preserved preparation, then that's going to last perhaps for years, perhaps more. But if you're making a tea, that stuff could go rancid within 24 hours. So you could use certain ounces and certain amounts, but if everything's going to go rancid within 24 hours, then you might be making a batch that's way too big for your needs. The other aspect, which Chava, when I was reminding Chava of the story, is she goes, well, you don't know the plant. Like, this person has no personal experience with the plant, doesn't know anything about it, has never used it before, doesn't know about its potency. Does this person know where to get good herb from and trust a trustworthy provider? So there's a lot of questions here, and it made this question very, very difficult to answer for us. So one of the things that I realized here was that in pharmaceutical medicine, which is also known as the Western medical model, or some people call that your local Coupa or your local HMO, or the medicine that most Westerners use nowadays, is that they have this paradigm, this philosophy that I call, what do you do for? What do you do for? So you have a headache, what do you do for a headache? So there's a list of things what you can take for a headache, right? You've got your Ecamol, your Tylenol, your ibuprofen, you have all these things. And then if you need something, if you've got a migraine, then that comes with certain things. It could be halos, it could be, different nausea. And then there are certain prescription pills that you take just for that headache. And everything is very like misudar. It's very orderly. You memorize basically a list, or you look up in a list of what pharmaceutical options you have to treat a specific illness. However, with herbal medicine and with many of the ancient medicines, not only herbal medicine, we're talking about homeopathy, we're talking about herbs, we're talking about aromatherapy, we're talking about energy healing, we're talking about traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, also known as traditional Indian medicine. You're looking for the root cause. There are lots of reasons you might have a headache. Right? You could have a headache because you're dehydrated, in which case you can take an Ecamol, you could take an aspirin, you could take whatever, your headache may go away, but you haven't really dealt with the underlying issue. And from our modality, from this ancient modality of healing, there's no separation of spirituality and medicine. And so if my head hurts, I have a spiritual understanding that my body was given to me by God in order to serve my neshama, okay? Just like we all know as Jews that when we're in the body, we can do mitzvot. And when we are outside of the body, we can't do mitzvot. That's one of the wonderful purposes of our lives, is when we're in the body to do those mitzvot. And the body is here to serve us to do those mitzvot. And one of the ways is if we have a headache, that's our body saying, stop, you need to fix something. Something's wrong. And if we can find the root cause, like dehydration, then the answer is to drink more. And it's not in a pharmaceutical drug. You could do that. You would mask the sign of your headache, but you're still in a danger zone because you're dehydrated. So I'm going to bounce it over to Chava from here, but yeah.
Okay, so when you were talking about the beginning, the interview, so many questions all of a sudden just bounce into my mind. Like, they're asking us, will this work for? How much do I need? Like you said, but wait, just back up for a minute, because plants are so at the same time simple, but at the same time very complex. So there are certain plants that have a certain chemistry in their leaves, but then completely, totally different chemistry in their roots or in their flowers. So what are we talking about when you're asking me about this specific plant and the amount that we need? Are we talking about leaves? Are we talking about roots? Are we talking about fresh? Are we talking about dried? There's like so many questions for someone to just say, how much? Well, we don't know. I've never grown that specific plant. I haven't seen how big it gets. I haven't seen how big the roots are. Are they these skinny, skinny little things? Or are they like a dandelion root that's this big carrot that goes all the way down, 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 down deep in the ground? There's so many questions, and you need to understand when you're working with plants that you have to incorporate all of those questions and then answers. That's one thing. Another is, like Rivkah was talking about, our ancient healers. We're not just here, take this. Oh yeah, for that, take this. No, it was complete full roundabout. There was a connection from the healer to the person. There was a connection from the healer to God in whatever frame they used it, right? In the Egypt, they had many, many gods, and each one had a purpose. There was a connection to using the elements, not just one plant, a leaf. They didn't just give it to you and be like, is it going to work? No, no, no. They would pray over you. They would have you sit in the sun and soak up the sun's rays. Or maybe if it was something else, you needed to sit next to a river with your feet in the water as it's rushing by with a certain temperature. I mean, there's so many things that go into healing once upon a time. And the sad thing is that we have lost it because Western medicine has come in and said, okay, there's a pill for every ill and we've got you covered. But at the same time, everyone's taking pills and saying, oh, this one's for my stomach, this one's for my head, this one's for my heart, this one's for my blood pressure, this one's for my aching pains and my joints. And you've got 15 different pills in a bag. Has anyone researched how they're interacting in your body? No. And then all of a sudden you're having massive side effects. Maybe the certain pill did whatever for your headache. But what about the other 14 that are, playing with it in the chemistry in your body and your own body's constitution? Maybe you're a wet, damp kind of a person. Maybe you're heavy, everything's slow and lazy. Maybe there's other people who are just bouncing all over the place and coffee would be horrible for them. And then you go and give them some kind of amphetamine and then, whoa, right? And so you're not even healing the thing that you wanted to heal because you've got the composition of the person all wrong. But they don't look at that in Western medicine. And so what we love so much about plant medicine is first, let's ask the questions. That's it. We're just talking. No diagnosing. No get you in and out. No, let's write a prescription. Just talk. I'm going to ask some questions. You're going to tell me some stories. I will tell some stories. And we're going to have a conversation so that as we're watching this person, how are they sitting? How are they breathing? Are they sweating in a room with air conditioning? All of these kind of things. Their eyes are twitching or they're just there's so many questions that's going to come out of their mouths, but we're watching their whole body and their whole reaction to life. And then you can come up with a way, a path of healing that will actually get them there. And that's where we're going with this whole idea of plant versus pill. And it doesn't have to be versus, right? There could be people who need to take their medications and on the side, they're using plants to help them maybe get through side effects or maybe deal with some other whatever. So we're not saying it's or this or that, but to look at it in a totally different light. This is not the same as that. Okay, that's my clarification.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think like when you were talking, it occurred to me, I mean, you spelled it out so well, like pharma medicine is dead medicine. It's the antibiotics, it's the anti, right? But plant medicine is alive. So I'm going to do a screen share. I have a very short video right now. Here we go. Okay. Can we see this? I hope.
Yes.
Here we go.
And finally, researchers have found that plants can make noise. According to a study published in the science journal Cell on Thursday, plants make clicking and popping sounds that are not audible to the human ear. But using a special ultrasonic microphone, researchers have been able to capture what these noises sound like across a variety of plant types. Let's take a listen. Now, the finding shakes up previously held notions that the plant kingdom was mostly silent. Researchers also found that stressed plants make about 30 to 50 sounds per hour, while unstressed plants emit about 1 sound per hour.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I got to figure out how to stop screen sharing. Here we go. So we're talking about a live medicine. It's alive. It's alive like we are. The plants are alive. They're babies. They're little tiny, shoots out of a seed, and then they grow and grow. They move around facing the sun, or they cower in the shade. And if you get too much sun, they dry up and they disappear, kind of like the Wicked Witch of the West in The Wizard of Oz, except she didn't dry up. She melted, right? But, I'm thinking of my chickweed, like the chickweed that was under the trampoline. It's like, yay. And the chickweed that's right on the outside and the sun's on, it's like, I'm melting, right? So that's Stellaria, by the way, is the Latin name of that plant, if you want to check it out. But it's a live medicine. And because it's a live medicine, it's going to, it's going to have a live action. It's not going to be standardized. It's not going to be dead. It's not going to be made in a lab. It's going to be different and interact personality wise, with each person. So I was talking with 2 clients today, and I told one, and one happened to be with me while I was talking to another, and he asked about something, and I said, yeah, okay, you're going to do this and this. And then the other one is like, oh, so I'm going to do that too. No. You don't have the same issue as that person. You can't do this, but you told him he could do this and this together. That's right. He can do this and this together, but you can't. You can't, because personality wise, this is too many, cooling herbs. You have a wasting illness. You have there's all these different components. And I think a lot of times herbs get a bad rap because of that, where people just go online, they see what the recommendation is. That happened with one of these clients today, where he was telling me, oh, I looked up, what do you do for? Again, there's that Western medicine, that pharmaceutical medicine paradigm. What do you do for this ailment? And I found this, and this. So I'm asking him questions like, well, do you have inflammation here? Do you have this here? No. Well, okay, that recommendation is great, because for your condition, it usually comes with inflammation and this and that will help with the inflammation, but that's not a symptom for you. That's not how it's manifesting. This illness is manifesting for you. And therefore, this is not the appropriate herb. You need something else. So having a relationship with the plants, we say it over and over, but it makes all the difference. You don't need a relationship with your pharma drugs. You just look up, what do you do for? And then it's almost like protocol. So you would start with like an Ecamol or an aspirin, something over the counter, right? And then if your headache's getting more and more intense, now you start getting prescription meds. And if this one doesn't work, you try the other one, and you just kind of go down. And a lot of the times the designation of that protocol, which gets prioritized, in other words, which will you get prescribed by your doctor before the other, has to do a lot with pharmaceutical reps and their companies and financial incentives, not with how a medicine works in your body. In fact, I guarantee you it has nothing to do with how the medicine will work in your particular individual body. And any doctor will admit to that. They're not giving pharma drugs based on your individual body. They're giving it based on the paradigm of what do you do for. Whereas in herbal medicine, I'm looking at, this guy who asked us, do I use this? Do I use that? Well, I wouldn't use that herb on a baby or a child or an elderly person or a person who's on other pharma meds that could be contraindicated or right. And we don't have those things. There's like, you can look up in a book with pharma medicines, potential contraindications. Oh, I can't give you that because you're on statins. I can't give you this because you're on, whatever, some other medication. And so it's very mathematical, but it's very cold. It's very detached from the individual. It's more like global, like globalism, right? It's the globalized healthcare, and it's not for you as an individual. One of the things that Chava said that I loved, I thought it was so brilliant, is Chava said, we have a conversation, there's no diagnosis. And it reminded me, Chava, of Susan Weed, who recently told me, she refuses to teach diagnosis. She says, I will not teach my students how to diagnose because we don't need to diagnose. A lot of times, people will ask me about, well, what herb is antibacterial or antimicrobial or anti-whatever? And I don't like thinking about it that way because that's not what I'm doing. I'm not doing what do you do for? How do I kill this? How do I eradicate that? That isn't the point. My approach and the approach of herbal medicine in general, and of all ancient modalities in general, is again, your body was here to serve you. God divinely created your body to heal. And sometimes it just needs like a little nourishment, okay, to help it move along the path of healing a little bit faster. That's a totally different paradigm than the Western medical model, AKA pharma medicine, which is you are a bunch of parts, like a car at a car shop. You got your brakes, you got your wheel, you got your motor, you've got your whatever, transmission. Okay. And if this is broken, we fix the broken part, plug it back in. We are live beings. We're not an auto. We're not a car. So if something's broken in one part, it's affecting a bunch of other parts. There's no way to just take one part and fix it. You have to fix everything. You have to kind of support it and lift it up. And then all the pieces of you work together in unison. And if we start seeing our bodies this way and our lives this way, we're going to change our outlook on the world in general and stop being so compartmentalized, which is how we've gotten into a lot of messes that we're in politically and otherwise in our, current era. We'll start to see everything very holistically and not separate it out. So, yeah. Chava, do you want to add some more about that?
Yeah. So a couple things. One is, just like you said, God gave us our body. He created us. So the way I look at it, and people far from the Western medical model would look at it, is your body actually is a complete being, meaning it was born whole. And you were meant to live whole on this earth, in this life, which means that if you get sick, it's your body reacting to something because it wants to be whole, it wants to be perfect, it wants to be healthy. And it actually has the intelligence inside to get there. But if we are using what do you do for in order to heal the imbalance that's going on that causes this illness or symptoms, we're not sick because, we don't have enough acamol in our body or aspirin. It wasn't like We had a certain level when we were born and it started going down and down. And now we need to bring it back up by drowning ourselves in whatever pharmaceutical, it doesn't even matter. That's not why. We are sick or showing symptoms because there is an imbalance in this world. And that's it. So our body actually has the absolute capability and intelligence to heal itself. If we are flooding it with outside sources and asking everybody, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? You're missing the intelligence. You're basically saying to yourself, to your own body, your own mind, your own spirit, I'm not good enough. I can't do this. I'm sick. My body's failing me. It sucks. It never did what I wanted. I'm always too fat, no matter how much I try to lose. You know, like you're constantly putting down this perfect system. So even just changing your mind into thinking, my body can do this, all of a sudden it puts you in a place where, wait a minute, if I just sit and I think, and I even ask other intelligent beings who are in the same frame of mind, how can I support my body to heal itself? That's all it needs. It will do it. How do we support it to heal itself? And there are plants. God gave us plants. It even says it right in the Tanakh. It is for our own good, for food and for medicine. So let's turn to those and try to find the balance of our imbalance. In order to do that, we can look at plants. And okay, we can't hear them unless you have this special little gadget, but we do know that they are communicating with us because that's why God put them here. They're absolutely communicating with us. I like this example we've used before. In the winter, actually in the spring, after the rains in Israel, the chrysanthemum flowers take over the country. Literally take over. Everywhere you look, there's yellow flowers growing. I wouldn't just go pick yellow flowers. First, find out which is chrysanthemum, but just take my word that they are growing in the empty parking lots. They're growing on the sides of the road. They're growing in cracks in the pavement. They are, and if you out where I live, it's totally, thank God, empty. We have big fields. I can look out my window and see an entire field until the end. I can't see any farther of yellow flowers. To me, that's kind of like God, nature saying something. Maybe Israel is, as a nation, missing something, and these flowers can give it back to us. I mean, you can't miss it. You can't turn your head or drive down a road without seeing these, if you know what they look like. And that to me is just them talking to us, saying, hey, over here, look at us. Look how many. We're all here for you. For you, just look at us. Come pick us. Make some tea. Right? So we kind of have to, if we decide that we're going to heal ourselves, slow down, back up, and look for the answers within. And then once you start to understand that the plants were put here for us and that we are supposed to be completely in alignment with them, we provide our own healing. God is speaking through these plants. And if you start to watch them, you're like, wait a minute. In the wild, in the forest, mint usually grows near a rushing river. Or this one grows in the lee of a rock in the shade and the coolness of this mineral rich, huge boulder. You know, like you can start to pay attention to what these plants are doing, how they are surviving, and what they can therefore give back to us. So that's a huge disconnect that we've had for so many years. Thank God there are still people who are paying attention and they write about it, and reading and feeling and listening to your own body. Eventually, you can start to understand the plants and understand your own diseases or symptoms and where they might be coming from, because a headache doesn't always mean one thing. Like Rivkah said, it can mean a gazillion different things, but you have to get to the source of it. No one else can do that for you. You can go to a healer, you can go to an herbalist, and they will walk you through things. But in the end, you're like, wait a minute, I took that weird thing and I don't remember. And then it was And I took another weird thing, and maybe they're having a reaction in my head. Like, you can start to ask yourself, where's the underlying cause of things? Sorry if I went too far.
No, all so important. And, you know, when you talk about the body reacting, again, if our bodies, this is a whole different way of living, a whole different way of thinking. It's like, if I believe in Hashem and I'm walking with Hashem and I believe Hashem created the heavens and the earth and everything, then I have to look out my window and see Hashem created, it's magical, food growing from the ground, you know, like trees with lemons on them, just right out of the ground. This is miraculous. And it's not only with our food, it's with our medicine too. And we used to know this until Rockefeller, until pharma took over modern medicine. Yeah, I mean, it was modern. It was always modern. It was ancient and modern.
There was also let me just run before you miss this point. You just said our food and our medicine. Once they were one and the same.
They were one and the same. And they still are.
We ate to stay healthy. And now they've separated them. This is your food, usually junk. And this is your medicine, usually pills. It used to be one and the same.
Who knows Rambam? Who's ever heard of Rambam? The revered Jewish doctor, rabbi, right? The doctor to the Sultan, right? Of where was it? Egypt or something? I don't remember where he was. Lowell Aryeh knows. Okay. Everyone reveres him as this incredible doctor. Do you think he was prescribing statins and Ecomol? No, no. Doctor used to mean herbalist and energy healer and rabbi and shaman, or, you know, whatever, spiritual guide, because that was all one and the same. The best, you know, back in the Middle Ages, who were the healers? The monks, the nuns, right? Who set up the hospitals? The clergy. Because it was a healing. There you go. Left Spain and went to Egypt. Hooray. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So this is what it was. Now, I had my second baby all alone, without any family on either side, alone, in a foreign country, all alone. And I get a call from my second cousin, and she asked me how I'm doing. And I'm saying, I'm really depressed. I'm really, really depressed. I'm heartbroken. She's like, great. I'm going to take care of everything. Don't worry. Great. Next thing I know, I have a social worker calling me from Tipa Chalav. Hey, we hear you might have postpartum depression. You need to get in and take some pills and see a doctor and whatever. It's like, whoa, what? No, see, I'm depressed because women who just give birth shouldn't be left alone without any family, any support system in a country where they don't know anybody, with no friends, with nobody, with little children to look after. I'm depressed because my mind says there's something isn't right. There's a discord, there's a disharmony in my world that I'm living in. Something's wrong and I'm depressed. That's my sign, just like the headache, to fix the problem, right? My body's serving me. It's not that I need a pill to like zombie out. I need to get a support system, some, you know, help with getting myself a nap, whatever it is. And if I had covered it up with a pill, I might not have been able to learn those lessons. And the reason I think we are all able to teach today, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, you know, it's not because I'm like any smarter than anyone else. It's just because I did things the hard way. I didn't just take a pill. I just tried to figure out what this meant. I looked for the meaning in things and started coming to some realizations. Our bodies are reacting to real circumstances that are not good for us when we become ill. And that's again, I'm just reiterating what Chava said. How many times have we heard in birth a woman say, my body's just, it failed me. It failed me. I just couldn't get pregnant, or I got pregnant, but I just couldn't go into labor on my own. I just couldn't have contractions fast enough. I just couldn't, my body failed me. I work with women in the birthing conception world. I can tell you from personal experience, I hear this from nearly all of my clients. I know Chava hears it. I know Gilla, who's at a birth right now, hears it. no, your body isn't failing you. Like, let's unpack it. Let's deconstruct it. Let's look at how our ancestors birthed, and let's look at how you're birthing. And our ancestors, the way they birthed is, oh, your contraction stopped? Well, okay, carry on then. Your body knows what to do. You'll go into labor when it's time, right? And here, if you're under the care of a doctor, of a pharma doctor, a Western medical model doctor, it's like, you had this amount of contractions and now, oh my gosh, failure to progress, blah, 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 quick the Pitocin, quick the drugs. There's no time to just stop and kind of see, is there a reason a woman stopped having contractions? Look up rest and be thankful in labor. It's a real thing and it's well documented. Rest and be thankful. It's a period of time for a woman that our bodies, if we are exhausted and we're not going to get through the next half of labor, contractions stop and we get a nap and we get to rest. And sometimes that'll be 20 minutes and sometimes it'll be a day or two. Okay, this is normal, physiological, well-documented birth process, but there's no paradigm for that in the Western medical model. Women don't get to experience it. Our bodies are here to serve us doing mitzvot, and having a baby is certainly a big mitzvah. So again, kol hakavod to Gilla, who we miss so much. So, all right, we're turning into Hashem's perfect rhythms for us. I would like to kind of move this, if you're okay, unless you have something else to say about it, Chava. But people ask me about homeopathy. So if you have something else to say, jump in. Otherwise, maybe we can move into that.
Are you moving into homeopathy? Because yeah, one more thing with that
Yeah.
plant. Okay. So like you said before, plants are completely alive. We've known this. We see them grow from a tiny seed into a huge tree. They turn themselves like solar panels towards the sun. They react. There's been many studies done. If you walk by them and you have bad thoughts, as they'll start to wilt. If you ignore them, they'll just completely die. If you give them positive thoughts, as they just thrive. Like, they completely and totally react to our world every moment. And they're completely here for us. So those two things together could mean something very powerful. Number one, herbalists throughout time have recorded what properties and healing chemicals and all kinds of things that are in plants. So we sort of have a background as this is good for this kind of a constitution of a person. And this one really helps with, constricting blood. Like, there's so many things. But another thing, if we think about the plants being alive and that they were put on earth here for us, they weren't put here 5,000 years ago. And then God said, okay, I did my job. There is constant refinement and intelligence in these tiny little or huge plants. Constantly. They know exactly what's going on in the world. They didn't stop 5,000 years ago and be like, well, things have changed too much. We don't know how to adjust. No, these things have adjusted all the time throughout with us, for us. So that means that certain plants that were maybe used for whatever a long, long time ago have completely changed with the same intelligence, but they are adjusting to our times. So if there's crazy viruses or, whatever going around in the world, they are adjusting. There are certain plants that were put here for this time specifically in history, and we are meant to connect with them. So it's just something to think about, that like a pill is just dead. They invented it in a laboratory, put it in a pill, and it will stay that same pill for thousands of years until it disintegrates in the sewage or whatever. But these plants are moving, changing, and reacting to us, humans, animals, the sun, dimming, with all their weird things, everything, so that they can keep us afloat and connected spiritually and absolutely in perfect health, however much, if we will allow them in. That was my last note.
Jeez, you keep adding so many good points. We're never going to get off the topic, but it's true. Like, I got this meme somewhere about zero carbon. And I'm just like, zero carbon? What? Like, does anyone understand that what we breathe out, our carbon dioxide, is what plants breathe in. And what the plants breathe out is oxygen, which is what we breathe in. That means if viruses or whatever is going around, illnesses are going around, they're getting it, they're developing their immunities for it, and they're giving it right back to us.
That's right.
It's exactly what Chava is saying. And the idea of zero carbon, like everyone needs to stop and think for a minute. Hold up. We're talking about carbon and farting cows and who knows what they wanted. Meanwhile, they're spraying the skies. There's airplanes everywhere. There's, you know, billionaires dumping tons of chemicals into everything, the earth, everything. Okay, what is the real threat, do you think, in your heart? Search your heart. What is really more dangerous? Spraying pesticides and chemicals all over the earth and in our water supply and everywhere, or farting cows? Do you think? Do you search your heart, really? Okay, so like all of these things, okay, if I breathe out, that Tylenol, that Ecamol does not breathe in anything. It has no relationship with me. It's not bioavailable to me. That's why synthetic supplements and vitamins, they're not bioavailable. That's why, like, you might have all your daily amounts in your fortified milk or cereal or processed cereal or whatever, but how many of those are actually bioavailable? That means your body can assimilate them and use them. Very, very little. Very, very little. It's mostly seen as junk. And so all those amounts of minerals and vitamins on the back of your cereal box, that's just it's a sham. It's a total sham. It means nothing for you. Yeah, in theory, that's whatever percentage of your daily allowance, but you're not going to be able to assimilate that. It's not made for you. It's processed. It's made, anything that's processed is inferior to what Hashem created as totally assimilatable, totally bioavailable. And we live in a symbiotic relationship with everything on this earth. Okay, have we exhausted this now?
Yeah.
It's so important. Oh my gosh, this farting cows thing has me shook. It has me crazy. They wanna call, like, I don't remember how many, like, millions of cows around the world within the next however many years. They want cows to have vaccines against farting. They, like, holy moly. Okay, homeopathy. People ask us about homeopathy. Homeopathy is like herbalism on steroids. Ha ha, got it? Pharma joke. Okay, maybe that's just something for herbalists to laugh at. But homeopathy, okay, is like, people will ask things, and this is how I know someone doesn't know what homeopathy is. And most people don't. So this is not, I'm not knocking anyone. This is not judgmental. I'm sharing this with you so that you know. You need to know. Is people, I'll say, oh, okay, maybe you take, say, homeopathic arnica. Okay. So so people will say, well, how much? How much? How many times a day? How many pills? That's a pharma mentality. What do I do for? It's very, how much, how many pills, how many, you know, at what time, okay? And it's important that you take your medications on time. Try skipping your birth control or taking it at the wrong time in pharma birth control. It's not gonna work for you. You're gonna get pregnant, okay? Or try using birth control pills with an antibiotic, with a pharma antibiotic. It is contraindicated. Your birth control pills will not work. You will get pregnant. Women should know that. Men should know that. Okay. Homeopathy, what is it? Homeopathy is energetic medicine. It's an energetic, like, fingerprint, an energetic imprint of whatever has been homeopathized. I just made up that word. Okay. So you can make homeopathy from anything. Arnica just happens to be a plant, a flower. Okay. So that's an herb. However, excuse me, I can make homeopathic preparations from snake venom, or from a rock, or from, I don't know, something that isn't a plant. Okay. I mean, I'm thinking I could probably make it from, like, Kellogg's cereal or whatever too. You could probably do it from anything. Okay, but something that's in the natural world that Hashem created, ideal. If it doesn't have to be a sentient being per se. Okay, it can be a rock. It can be the venom from a snake. Okay, but basically some of this antigen, this agent, is put into a vat of menstruum. Remember, menstruum is the typically liquid that pulls out the properties, the medicinal properties of that thing. So a lot of times I think it's water in homeopathic medicine, but can also be alcohol. And so you shake it up, you take a few drops from that big vat of water, okay? And you put it into another vat, those few drops of just plain water or alcohol, okay? And you shake it up, shake it up, shake it up, and then you take a few drops of that and put it in another one. And you go on and on and on. The more dilutions, the higher potency the medicine is. But if you take your medicine, so your homeopathic preparation could be a little ball, like they call them kadurim, little balls in Hebrew, little pellets, or they can be ones that like Highlands Homeopathy in America, if they're still making their preparations, they're tablets that kind of melt in your mouth, so they're great for young children. If you took that and you analyze that under a microscope, you would not see any of the plant arnica or any snake venom or any rock. You would see whatever, you know, there's like a lactose enzyme in those little pellets. You'd see that, you'd see water, but you wouldn't see anything else. It's not there. It's not scientifically there, which gives us even more pause, right? Because it works. If you find the right remedy, you can see things working. I've given arnica to a kid who was knocked in the head with the swing, you know, a kid swinging and this one walks in front, knocks him in the head, and this huge ball is, you know, this knot is developing on his head. I put the arnica on the tip of his tongue and I see the ball just go, just shrink. And it's gone. Like 10 minutes later, you can't see anything. Now, I have kids, thank God. Chava has kids, thank God. That isn't a normal reaction. That doesn't just happen normally on its own. If a kid gets hit in the head by the foot of someone on a swing, there's like this big knot, and then it gets all red and it gets gnarly, and then it bruises and it lasts for days or maybe a week or more. Okay, so you can see miraculous healing with that. The trick with that is to get the right remedy. And the same for herbal medicine. Getting that right remedy where you're looking at the constitution of the person, of the plant, of the time of year, of what's growing nearby, of what's going on. All those things have an impact. And the what do I do for mentality, where just like look it up, what herb is good for, it's hit or miss. But if you're trained or you learn how to look at all these other factors, you're gonna get way more hits than misses. In fact, you're gonna have miraculous hits they're gonna seem miraculous because they are. And the same with homeopathic medicine like arnica. I've seen that. I've seen it do nothing at all. And oftentimes that's the wrong remedy, or maybe that just wasn't the correct modality for that particular situation. So homeopathy, if there's nothing in it, and it's an energetic imprint, then how many pills do you need to take? Like, does it matter if you take 1 or you take 500? You know, does it matter if you down the whole bottle? Probably not. And there's actually a theory. Matthew Wood wrote a beautiful paper. It's in one of these herbal magazines I have. Matthew Wood, who was at Ancient Roots Israel, by the way. He wrote a beautiful paper about drop dosing herbs in tinctures, which is Matthew Wood is also a homeopath. And so he looks at herbal medicine in a very homeopathic way, with a very homeopathic lens. So I've seen him personally take 1 drop of herb, you know, on the back of his hand. And that's all he needs. Whereas if you're looking online and you see, well, you need to make, you know, 3 cups of tea a day and it needs to steep for this long or whatever, I'm not knocking that, because I also do that and I believe in that. But I just want you to know that the energetic imprint of the plants is also so viable that you can do things if you even have 1 drop, if you even have a small amount, sometimes even holding it in your hand. Because again, we're not just working on a physical level, we're working on a spiritual level. Everything is very integrated. And you don't have to believe in this for it to work. I'm sure Chava has also seen, and I've seen, and many other herbalists write about their experiences with people who don't believe in all that stuff, all that energetic, that energy stuff and that spirit stuff, but they get healed because of an energetic relationship with the plant. So homeopathy is very interesting. And some people, when they hear that it's woo-woo medicine and it's just energy medicine, they start going, oh, I'm not going to touch that. I don't want to deal with that. Whereas before, they're using it and they see that it works, but everything is very rigid and compartmentalized. And if you can't analyze it in a microscope, then it must be a bunch of bunk. Chava, do you have any thoughts about homeopathy?
No, I think you did it pretty good.
All right, so I know we need to wrap up soon, but I was thinking maybe we can move into essential oils for a little bit because people need that so much. I don't know, Chava, if you want to start into that one or.
No, this is your thing.
This is my thing.
I'll jump in when I need to. Go for it.
Essential oils. People are always telling me about the essential oils, and essential oils are so great, and I'm going to heal everything with essential oils. Let's do essential oils. And there's all these MLM schemes, these pyramid schemes for essential oil companies. You've got Young Living, you've got doTERRA. I'm sorry to call all y'all out by name, pyramid schemes, but someone's got to do it. Someone's got to call you out. You make money by getting someone under someone else to sell these essential oils. You claim that you had a third party, independent person look into your oils and they are so pure and food grade and all this stuff. I wish Gilla was here for this because Gilla would be like, there's no such thing as food grade. And she just says it better than I do. So I don't know. I said it for her, but whatever. Just picture Gilla saying it the way Gilla says everything so beautifully. So yes, essential oils, those companies, by the way, their essential oils have been tested by third-party people, and they don't always come out to be so pure as they claim, and sometimes they actually get into trouble. I just learned about one of those companies who was sued for marketing an essential oil under the wrong name. It was the wrong plant completely. And so this is obviously not safe. Food grade essential oils, they don't really exist. Essential oils are toxic, period. No one wants to hear it. No one wants to believe it. Someone is always going to tell me in the Q&A, I use essential oils in my food and my this and my that. We're all using them. If you have mint flavored toothpaste that you buy from the store, if you have, whatever, there's a bunch of stuff. Even in some of our dried herbs, because like basil or oregano or something like that, they lose their scent. They lose their potency when they sit on a shelf for a long time. And sometimes they'll add a drop of essential oil into these big vats just to keep that smell viable, even though the herb has deteriorated so much that it's not, I would say medicinal anymore, perhaps. So that's another thing to be mindful of with your culinary herbs, to try and get those fresh and from reputable, trusted sources. But essential oils are toxic. I'm sorry to tell you all, they're toxic. It doesn't mean that if you take a drop in your toothpaste or whatever, we're all going to die. But there are cumulative effects of essential oils, and you need to be aware of it. I use essential oils in food prep as well on occasion. And I realize the risk that I'm taking, and I'm using a drop. Okay, a lot of extracts that you get, like say peppermint extract, it's typically essential oil put in a carrier oil like safflower or canola or something like that. So it's still essential oil, and you could probably bypass the canola oil or the safflower oil in that situation if you really needed a culinary essential oil. But essential oils are toxic. They have a cumulative effect in the body. I had the great fortune of being able to learn under some classically trained aromatherapists from around the world. It was an international group. I was with them for some years, and they all shared stories about people who suddenly developed reactions out of nowhere. People who had been using essential oils topically that suddenly had anaphylactic reactions, and couldn't understand why. Like 20 years I've been using essential oils, and all of a sudden this happened. Wow, what's going on? It's very hard on our kidneys. It's very hard on our livers to process out essential oils. In the Middle Ages, essential oils were thrown away. So I'll give a quick lesson about how essential oils are made. Okay, essential oils, by the way, are not sustainable. They're not the best way to use plants. You need literally a ton, like a metric ton of plant to produce, a very small amount of that oil. It might be even a small bottle or less of what you would get in a pharmacy or something like that. Essential oils were actually, like I said, in the Middle Ages, garbage. What was used by the herbalists, who were the doctors, okay, one of the doctors, right? Because there's traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic, energy healers. They were all doctors. They were all healers. But what was used was called aromatic water. Aromatic water. This was a preparation that had specific indications for people who were ill. You can take herbs as a tea. You can take herbs as a tincture. You can eat herbs. You have different ways that you can use them. But for some people in some types of illnesses that is beyond the scope of this seminar, ancient herbalists in the Middle Ages would create aromatic waters. This would involve taking a massive amount of plant material and putting it in a cell where it was boiled in water. It was steam kind of evaporated. The medicinal qualities of the plant were steam evaporated out. Typically, these were made in copper, these copper pots. And at the top, the steam would go up there, and then there was like a copper coil. And the steam would go around this coil a bunch of times in order to cool it down, so it would kind of condense back into water. And then the water would kind of drip, drip, drip out the spout in the front, and you would catch it with your cup or your bottle or your tincture jar or whatever it was, okay? And that water was used topically. It could have been used in very small doses internally. It was considered a super hyper strength preparation of herb. What the ancient herbalists noticed in the Middle Ages was that there was a film forming on the top of the water of oil. And this oil killed everything that came into contact with it. So mold, it kept mold from growing, because anything that's in water would typically go rancid. It would mold, would go bad. But if they left this oil sitting on the top, it was so highly toxic that it would kill everything that came into contact with it, thereby preserving the water underneath it. That oil, that film on the top, is essential oils. That's what it is. And what they did in the Middle Ages, they would never have dreamed of using this medicinally, because they saw how highly toxic it was. And so they would get a piece of cotton ball, lay it on the top of their aromatic water to soak up all that oily film, that essential oil, and then they would throw it away. It was garbage. No one would use that. It was a natural seal that God gave us to protect the aromatic waters. Now, some molecules of the oils would be suspended in the water. And so that also gave lots of medicinal benefit, but this certainly was not the essential oils. The essential oils would rise to the top. So essential oils are not safe. They are toxic. They were not used in ancient medicine. It is a basically new invention. In general, it is probably not the best idea to take them internally, ever, even if it says food grade. And, I understand that you may want to use them sometimes, and, you need to be really mindful about the risks that you're taking. You should be completely informed about that. However, the aromatic waters are still being sold by herbalists and herbalist pharmacies around the world, and they are beautiful, smell amazing, highly effective, great, great medicine. Chava, maybe you want to talk about essential oils.
Just one thing that came to mind was when you are developing this aromatic water, and then the essential oil was separate, it came out separate and then floated on the top. What they're doing now is collecting that and selling it, marketing it, because, why would you lose money on some byproduct, right? Byproduct, how many byproducts, including fluoride and all the others? Why would they lose money? But it's a very westernized way of looking at things, because you have now separated something that should have been whole inside the plant. When you make a tea from warm water over a plant, you are releasing the essential oil along with everything else. Nothing is being separated, and you're getting the exact dosage that the plant is willing to give you that is not toxic, and it works in harmony with all the other constituents. And so this Western model of, we take out this one piece that we want, and that's what we're going to put in our pharmaceutical. But now you're missing. And so everyone says, well, this pharmaceutical is based on plants. Okay. But what you've done is taken apart the puzzle, and now you have this one piece, and now it can be very toxic. Instead of leaving the whole plant and using it as it came, as it was given to us, and then you get the right amounts of everything, and they're all working in harmony inside the body. So just the essential oil is sort of a very westernized medical model idea of taking it apart and taking that one thing that they don't want, but it's a byproduct. But it's that idea of, oh, it'll work even better and more concentrated if we take it apart and throw the rest away, which is so sad if you think about how much they have to use for that tiny bit of oil, how much is thrown away.
And the lack of respect for Hashem, again, that's why in this scientism world, it's like you're devoid of Hashem, devoid of spirit, devoid of God. There's no one praying over the sick anymore. We know for a fact that people heal better and faster when they're surrounded by loved ones, when they're getting rest. How can you get rest unless you have someone bringing you your meals or taking care of things? That denotes support, love and support and caring. People with tight-knit families that are, supportive and help one another, they heal better and faster than those who are alone. And sometimes those who are alone, they die, and Western medicine can't explain it. We gave them all the right things. There's no reason they shouldn't be well, but they're lonely, they're alone, it's cold, it's detached. What you're talking about, Chava, is full spectrum plant use. The whole full spectrum. Hashem we don't need to go to a lab and try and sort it out. Hashem has it growing right out of the ground in the exact perfect proportions. And not only that, but my nettles growing in my yard are going to be very different than Chava's nettles growing in Chava's yard, where Chava's breathing on them and her kids are breathing on them and her animals, and she's got the sunlight and the bombs bursting in air. Okay. And the plants are all like, oh, we're going to develop, we don't have any trouble understanding that plants develop ways to deal with predators. Like, everyone knows that. Even science knows that. Everyone agrees. So why is it so hard to understand that plants develop in their own ways to deal with all sorts of things, like air toxicity or, bomb noise? I mean, you hear them talking on the video, and popping and making sounds. And there's way more where that came from. That one isn't even nearly as impressive as some of the other ones I've heard. If you believe in Hashem, then you don't need to go into a lab and compartmentalize and pull out different pieces. Hashem created everything in a perfect balance. And what's more, if you're using the local plants, Hashem's creating it perfectly balanced and bioavailable to you and people in your area. Again, Western medicine will tell you, well, you should have local honey. Honey has been proven to help allergies, but you should have a local honey because that works better than a honey from far away. Science proves that. Even doctors can spout that out. So why is it so hard to think like the bees are eating the plants of the local area? Oh, that's why the honey works for you in your local area better than another honey. The plants, the food, when we get food that's imported from, Timbuktu into Israel or the United States, it's set for a different environment. It's set for a different culture, people, everything. Growing local food is so important. Don't let them take our rights away to grow food, to raise animals, to have all of our needs right outside our front door. And when it comes to herbal medicine, you don't need a fancy herb. Even if you look online with the idea of what do I do for, and you find an herb, which again, I think we've just explained, that is not the right way to be doing herbal medicine, but it's a start, okay? If it tells you you need some exotic herb that doesn't grow near you, well, okay, okay, there's a million that will do a similar action that's even better for you because it's being raised in your environment, it's in your area. Some herbalists, and I'm one of them, I want to know what's growing outside of my client's house, in their yard, in the sidewalk cracks. If they're in an apartment building, I want them to show me the pots on their porch and the weeds that are growing in their flower pot. Because I want to know what Hashem sent to them. Because Hashem will send exactly what you need to the cracks in the sidewalk or the flower pots on your porch or right into your own yard if you're fortunate enough to have one. So I think we could wrap up, probably. Ancient Roots Mothering, Roots, Nettles, and Sage is comprised of myself, Ms. Chava Dagan, right next to me, and Ms. Gilla Weiss, who is doing some amazing heroic thing for Am Yisrael and for the whole world, because the world could not exist another moment before you're at the moment you were born. That's why you're here. It couldn't go on existing without you. And that's exactly what Gilla gets to do right now, is bring in this new baby into the world. The three of us are launching for Herbal First Aid 2. Herbal First Aid 2, we made the announcement on the Ancient Roots Israel newsletter. I'm sure Nettles and Pins will have a newsletter, and Gilla, Sage and Honey will have a newsletter. If you want to enroll in this 1 month course that lasts for 4 weeks, each class is 1.5 hours long, from August 9th to the 30th, I believe, once a week, please write to info@ancientrootsisrael.com. You get the three of us as teachers, demonstrations, recipe cards, PDFs, a really cool lesson from mothers who have raised families with herbal medicine. And we're going to be talking about bites, scrapes, burns, all sorts of interesting things that we had special requests for after Herbal First Aid 1. It's a live class, but you don't have to be there. If you can't make the class, go ahead and enroll now anyway, and you'll get all of the lessons sent to you in your email once a week with everybody else, recorded, and all of the PDFs and recipe cards and all that good stuff. If you missed Herbal First Aid 1, please also write to us at info@ancientrootsisrael.com or go to ancientrootsisrael.com/roots, nettles, and sage, or just click on the Roots, Nettles, and Sage tab on Ancient Roots Israel, where you have more information about how to purchase Herbal First Aid 1. It's not a necessary prerequisite, but we recommend it. It's a foundational course in Herbal First Aid. It will really help you along when you do Herbal First Aid 2, and you can do that concurrently. So I'm going to open up for Q&A if we like. Chava, any last words from you?
I don't think so. I think we did a pretty good rounded out, kind of proving the point, I think, of being able to just look at it differently, right? Like it's not what to do for. So just to put it in your head that it's totally from a different perspective, and just meditate on that for a minute. You don't even have to get into the rest of it. Just like, wow. I mean, plants are just so complex, and the human body is so complex, and the earth is so complex, and the spiritual realm is so complex, and you're trying to put it all together to heal whatever it is that's bothering you. And so it's not so simple. You really, really need to put thought and heart. And I think we got that point across.
I hope so. Yeah. And taking Herbal First Aid 1 and 2 with all of us is, I mean, that's why we're doing it. We're doing it because people ask us and because we're so passionate about it. We want you to be empowered. We want you, Chava said it so beautifully, with a calm head and steady hands to handle medical emergencies in your home. We want you to be able to do this yourself. Like it does take some studying, some skill. I'm not going to say you could just go and like pull anything off a tree and whatever. However, you know, if you take some classes and you have some people who know what they're doing, walk you through it, you can kind of get like it's a springboard, and you can kind of take off on your own at a certain point. Always make sure to have at least 3 different sources when identifying a plant. Chava said at the beginning about chrysanthemum, don't pick any yellow flower. So I should have said it then, at least 3 sources, cross-reference them to make sure that your plant ID is the correct one. Because yeah, plants can be fatal. They can be very dangerous. All right, thank you so much.